Namaskar. Very good morning to one and all. So, today we have a special talk on research publication and the drafting of the PhD thesis. And the main audience here are the research scholars. Of course, some master degree students are also here. So, research scholars and also some of our young faculty members who are gathered here to listen this particular talk. So this is will be given by Professor Sanjeev Kumar, who is a faculty member at School of International Studies, University of Delhi. So I heartily welcome him to this university, and on behalf of the authorities, I welcome you, and I would like to request our Dean, Professor Eriswamy, to offer a madam flower bouquet to sir. Eriswamy, who is the Dean, Faculty of Education, to offer a bouquet. I would also like to welcome Professor Vishwanath Aute, the Director PMEB, and also the Chairperson of Department of Political Science, Professor Kamalakshmi Tarsad, and also other faculty members here, Dr. Professor Agri sir. Yeah, okay. And all our faculty members to this particular special lecture. And as you, I mean, just this research activity is so important in these higher education institutes. So, because all of the research scholars who have joined recently, and also some of you must be at the verge of your, submission or so. I think this particular talk is going to be very useful to all of you, because see this, having this research at the highest level. See, the publication, the quality of publication is so important. Sometimes, without knowing that, the exact that awareness, where exactly we can submit our thesis, or the publications, the research findings. So that itself is, will hamper you in making the progress. Therefore, these days, the computation and the quality of research, everything that, that black and white that you publish, that speaks about you. So whatever you tell, finally, the quality of papers that you publish during your research career here in the as a PhD students. So therefore, you must go through the some of the that institutes where the excellent institutes of this thing research. Where do they publish and what kind of research publish? What are the journals are available? All those things you must be looking into that. So therefore, you can accordingly you can prepare your manuscripts so that it helps you in making a good quality research. Finally, all research is about finding the truth and also your own kind of a say what is that the knowledge generation. I mean you have to generate the knowledge. Okay, so that is the the higher education institutes are meant for. Okay, in addition to our teaching and this thing, research, because who else can do that except if not we, isn't it? So we are at the highest level of our formal degree. So therefore, we are expected to generate knowledge. So in your own subject. So these days, this kind of interdisciplinary is so important. Knowing each other. I mean, which whether a political science person should be knowing about what social scientists are doing, or social science, or in science, what kind of a innovations are coming up. Finally, it all merged to have a kind of a contribution towards the societal growth, or it all should be giving to the society, isn't it? So everything, whatever you do, you may be doing in physics, you may be doing in social science, political science, whatever it is. Finally, it all it should come to the society. So from your research lab or from your classroom, you should reach the society. So that kind of a things one has to formulate. And not only just an experimental or kind of a field data, these days lot many say what is that mathematical tools are there, models are there, and computational methods are there. All these things you can make use. I think Professor Sanjeev is going to talk something about that, and finally making a kind of an impactful research in your career. So, and actually it's an inspiration for all of us. So now I request our chairman of Political Science Department to introduce Professor Sanjeev Kumar in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Manjana sir, respected director of PMEB and IQSC, and my dear friend Sanjeev Kumar. Good morning to one and all. Today, this is the third day that we have Professor Sanjeev Kumar amidst us. And today, Sanjeev Kumar, we have a different spectators. All of them are research scholars. from various departments. They vary from science to languages and even social science research scholars. And some of the master degree students are also have shown their interest. They are also present over here. And along with that, we have a faculty members from many departments because classes are going on. So few faculty members have managed themselves to come on here and attend our this function. From criminology and commerce and science, all faculties, almost few faculties are there. Education department faculties are there. Many other faculties are also there. So you can map your talk on the publication of research papers in the Scoopers and indexed peer-reviewed journals, and even how to draft a thesis in the science and social sciences also. And science, I think Manjana sir will help us to understand better because Professor Sanjeev is from social science background. Although he is our junior, Sanjeev Kumar have about more than 70 articles to his credit, and they are published in the Scoopers only, if I am right. And he's about 85 research scholars. 85 research publications to his credit, and about 75 special stock he has delivered, and about 8 books. Am I right, Sanju? Yes. About 8 books he has published with the international publishers, and he's one of the well-known scholars from Delhi University. And the very happiest thing that he's from this place only. He's our person, and he's our political science person also. That is also there. So currently serving as a professor in the international relations at the Department of Political Science, University of Delhi, and he's also director of Center for India Canada Studies at the university. He's having 25 years of research and academic experiences, and including he's serving himself with consult. Many institutions are consulting him. In the pioneer institutes are South Asian University, SARC University, University of Allahabad, and our own Karnataka University, where he has served also on the different positions and capacities. His expertise in the different areas, that is international relations theory, democratization, security in social, South Asia, history of ideas in Islamic thought, and international relations, or many other even allied areas of social sciences also. He has covered extensively in his research, and his recent publications from the Macmillan Publishers, which is published in the last year, am I right? 23 and 24 book, and even the book is also under pipeline. This year also book is under pipeline. With this background, once again, I introduce Professor Sanjeev Kumar to the our young research scholars and young master degree students and even faculties. And on behalf of the university, on behalf of the PMEB, and on behalf of the political science, and on behalf of the IQAC and the university, we welcome Professor Sanjeev Kumar sir once again. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So, Professor Manjunath, Director IQSC, Professor Vishwanath, Director PMEB, my own Professor Kamlakshi, I call her with love Kamlaka. She is my elder sister and my senior, whom I followed when I was doing my post graduation and MPhil and PhD. So I learnt a lot from her and other colleagues from Rani Channamma University and all the student friends. So basically, I wanted to keep it as a more interactive session. Yes. So I'll talk for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we can raise your doubts, and then we can make some interjections. So basically, the target for today is to understand as to how to write a good PhD thesis and how to make your publications visible in good Scopus publications. Like there are categories called Q1, Q2, and Q3 journals. Now, let me begin philosophically. If you think big and if you aspire for big, then only you can achieve big. So never begin with limited considerations and limited thoughts. So that will always lead you to limited goals and achievements. Normally what happens whenever we enroll for PhD or whenever we are doing masters, especially while doing masters, we think that we have around 4 to 5 papers in a semester, and we have a limited set of readings, and then we have to just finish it and do the assignments and give the examination. So this approach will normally lead to nowhere. So what should be your approach as a master's student? Because let me target the master's student first.
When you join for a university degree in your first semester of masters, first thing you need to understand is, if you're studying physics or even political science, you need to understand which are the prominent areas. Like in physics, there are so many prominent areas. In commerce, there are so many prominent areas. In political science, there are so many prominent areas. Who are the most well-known scholars in these areas? So, like, say for example, let's begin with physics. Even Aristotle was a political scientist as well as he was a scientist, physics. Aristotle to Pythagoras to Galileo to Newton, and then we have the Copernican revolution and coming to Newton and Einstein and so on and so forth. You need to understand what the innovations in the field of research in your subdiscipline, in your own discipline, it has happened. Once you finished 1 or 2 semesters, you need to identify which sub-discipline you need to go. Like physics is vast, whether you want to go for nuclear physics, whether you want to go to astrophysics, or if you are doing biology, you want to go for microbiology, or so you need to identify what particle physics. So I will focus more on physics because in science I loved only physics and hated mathematics and failed in mathematics. So I will not dare to get into mathematics. So let me fix myself to physics. And of course, political science is my own discipline. Or if you are studying history, say for instance, whether you want to do European history, world history, or American history, or Indian history, if you're doing Indian history, you want to do Karnataka history. If you want to do Karnataka history, you want to do dynastic history, you want to do art history, cultural history, subaltern history. Or if you do sociology, you want to do urban sociology, rural sociology, industrial sociology, agricultural sociology. And there are ways in which you can identify one sub area when you enter third semester. Once you identify the subdiscipline, like I do international relations, so that is part of subdisciplinary part of political science. Once we identify that, because before the 2 semester, what I recommend to all of my students is, apart from the reading list that we gave you, just go and visit the library. Be a regular visitor of the library until and unless you go to the library, because digital age is temporary. I can challenge you. AI will come, but I somehow have a premonition that AI will not survive despite all the, and I'm playing a devil's advocate on this. AI will not survive. What will survive is our own intelligence. So, until and unless you start depending less, relying less on the mobile phone and your digital sources, you need them, but first go to the library, because what will happen is knowledge cannot be achieved through shortcuts. The hard labor and the time that you give will lead to your betterment of knowledge. I'll give some examples. I will not give my own example, but those who have achieved, like in physics, you may talk about Einstein, in like or even in India, you can talk about nuclear physics, APJ Abdul Kalam, and many names you can take. Or Jagadish Chandra Bose, the Nobel laureate, or Hargobind Khurana, another Nobel laureate, or C.V. Raman. Now, why, or Ramanujan, the young and brilliant mathematician, how did they reach all those stages? The stage that they reached. Research or knowledge gaining is not a sideline business. Side business जिसको बोलते हैं ना, that is not the case. It is like meditation. You keep thinking about your subject. When you get up in the morning, if you want to do nuclear physics, say for example, start thinking what sort of formula you want to work on. And start thinking about that formula right from the morning when you start sipping your first sip of water. And keep thinking about that, because as a researcher, diversions will always be there, And because that is like the satanic diversions. Even when Tathagata was also, meditating, there was a Mar who was disturbing him, and there were many people, all the Rakshasas disturbed the Rishi Munis. First thing, that is a philosophical and metaphysical thing. When Vishwamitra went to Maharaj Dashratha to ask for the help of Lord Ram, and many others told him that, what is the big deal? You can, burn all the Rakshasas in 2 seconds. The Vishwamitra replied that if I do that, I will lose my concentration and I have to refocus that concentration for next many decades. So that will lose the time for my research. So I want somebody to take this task upon, because to burn somebody, you have to bring in anger. And when you start bringing in anger, the research oriented mindset will go. Now, what this will teach us? Diversions. There are so many diversions, right from mobile phone to, you know, whatever happens in your young age. So I know I will not clarify that. You know whatever happens from television to mall to cinema theaters to everything. All that divergence will come. But in research, if you really want to become a good researcher, first start focusing and thinking on the particular subject that you actually think. And think, eat, sleep, and ponder only that subject. It is not like cricket commentary. You just go to the field, the bowler is running, Jasprit Bumrah is having the ball in his hands. He has taken a Rani Channamma University hand. He is going towards the bowler, batsman. So that is running commentary. Research is not like a running commentary. It is tapasya. You need to meditate over the subject. Then only you will reach to a particular formula, particular thing. And how will you achieve that? What is the training that you need? Start developing two capacities. One, to think, and then to read. And for both these tasks, to think and then read, the first thing you need is patience. Let me assure you, our job, I may be looking very colorful with a nice shirt and a jeans, but my job is not very colorful. I will assure you. There will be so many other colorful jobs, like job of a police officer, job of a businessman, top executive, hotel industry, like blah 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 industries. But our job is very colorless and dry, because when everybody is partying, we sit and read. Even on Diwali, Holi, even on my birthdays, if my family compels me to have a birthday party, then I only start celebrating after 6:30. And after the celebrations at 10:30 or 11, when my guests go, I go back to my laptop. I will assure you, the most painful job, and the more pain you take, the better results you get. How our Rishi Munis were able to do so much of research, innovations. They did not do it in the comforts of a big office, all that is there. But the Rishi Munis were sitting in the jungle to sit, think, and just keep reading. That seems more boring. You have to have passion for that. If you don't have passion, I request you not to take up this profession. This is not a job for bread and butter. हमारे लिए सिर्फ सरस्वती प्रसन्न होती है, लक्ष्मी जी प्रसन्न होने में बहुत दिक्कत होता है. सो यू हैव टू लिव विथ मिनिमम रिसोर्सेस. किसी के पास हम देखते हैं वो तो फॉर्च्यूनर से आ रहा है, मैं तो मारुति 800 भी नहीं खरीद पा रहा हूँ, सैलरी उतनी ही है. बट इफ यू डोंट हैव पैशन and if you start aspiring for money, then you can never appeal to Saraswati. So that is the simple formula that you need to begin with. If you have passion for reading, writing, and when everybody is gossiping around you, spending time having tea, having snacks, you need to just put your head down and keep reading and writing. If you watch cricket, how many of would you say that test match is entertaining? Did you watch test matches? It is not entertaining, na? T20 is very entertaining. हर बॉल पे छक्का लग रहा है. But test match is the real life. The gripping proceedings that happen in a test match, a batsman batting for 2 consecutive days just to score 200 runs. Because in test match in 15 overs, a batsman can score 200 runs. People have proved that. But in test match, you have to bat for 6 to 7 sessions. And how much pain it takes to stand there, it's back breaking. That is why Sunil Gavaskar was Gavaskar, Tendulkar was Tendulkar, Dravid was Dravid. They put the hard work. That is why whenever they came up with the innings, the commentators you must have heard, it was an innings of character. What does it mean? And immense authority, both. Authority to withhold the excellent bowling and character displayed in having patience. So everybody doesn't have patience. It's always the case. Why did Rohit Sharma did not succeed? Wonderful technique, wonderful talent, but lack of patience. But in comparison to that, Virat Kohli also displayed scintillating attitude, but also patience. Without patience, you can never be a good researcher. I am sure about that. Now, after this, what you need to do? We think that to write one paragraph, you read one paragraph from somewhere else, bas ho gaya. To rewrite one paragraph, you may have to end up reading one entire book. This has been my experience. Many times, to just write 3 lines, I've ended up reading 3 to 4 research articles of others. And many people say that, okay, I wrote this article in 10 days. My dear friend, give me a break. I take 1 day to write only 1 paragraph. And max 1 page. So ultimately, if there are 30 days, I'll end up writing 30 pages. And if I have to write a book of 300 pages, I take 1 year. Now, what does this mean? 30 days, 365 days. And what is the quantum of work that we put in? At least apart from our classroom teaching and other all the assignments which like somebody like Professor Manjunath will give me to the in the university, ये document दो, IQAC के लिए, ये काम करके दो, AQR report करके दो, all that even I do. But at least 6 to 7 hours I have to spend time. That means you may have to go the extra mile. And what is the meaning of extra mile? खाना कम करो, सोना कम करो. Don't spoil your health. But eat to live, don't live to eat. It's as simple as that. So let me not be a like life educator, how much you have to sleep, how much you have to eat. But what I'm trying to say is, if as a student, my bet is to make you read and write at least for 8 to 10 hours a day. Minimum. That is minimum. You can go to the maximum, even 14 hours, people go 12 to 14 hours. And a professional like us, at least after all the 10 to 5 job we put in, morning 2 to hours, evening 3 to 4 hours. That means say goodbye to clubs, say goodbye to malls, have fights with your family that you are not going with your wife or husband for shopping. Give up all your desires. We all have desires. Life is very colorful. If you have money, you can go to a mall, enjoy, have a nice dinner, and that 3 hours is gone. But those 3 hours, when your friends are partying, as I said, when you sit, read and write, the benefit will come. But you should enjoy that pain. Try to learn to enjoy the pain of not entertaining yourself. Once you train your mind that you have to learn to live under this pain for the whole life. It is not like a UPSC examination कि एक साल तैयारी कर लो फिर शिमला में ट्रेनिंग कर लो and then the whole life you enjoy 25 जॉब करो शाम को एकदम अपने दोस्तों के साथ पार्टी करो. That is a bureaucrat's life. And the corporate's life, although they are working from 8 to 8, when they party very hard. Whenever I have gone even for my excursions, I have carried my laptop because I know after the sightseeing from 10 to 6 in the evening, after 7 or 8, the time is mine. I don't believe in night out parties because that is a wastage of time for me. I can give a day if I go for an excursion to, say, for example, Goa. Who will carry your laptop to Goa? I have carried it. But that is the pain that you have to tolerate to become a good researcher. Then comes all the nitty-gritties. What is Q1, Q2 journal? And as I said, research doesn't mean that if we ask somebody to write something, if I ask all of you to write 500 words, keeping your mobile phone and laptops outside this room, and I'll give a pen and paper to all of you. I will ask Kamalakka to give pen and paper. I can challenge many of you will not write because we have been habituated. If I ask, write on recent elections in the United States, presidential elections, everybody will have Google. Okay, ye information, wo information, copy karo. And many people don't even have the habit of carrying a notepad. How many of you are carrying your notepads? We all have the habit. In the mobile phone, I have seen, I am Sanjeev. You don't even have to type full. I, A likho, am likh dega. I am saying that shortcut method you will never learn. Every serious researcher should have a good pen. Pen तो 10 रुपए में आता है, and a notepad वो भी 10 रुपए में आता है. Please don't develop the habit of writing on the mobile phone. That will take you nowhere because, especially the social science students, because I know you don't even need to type. It automatically types. If I want to write automatic, AUTO, MATIC, वो खुद ही type कर लेता है. How many of you have good handwritings which your Kamlakshi madam would assess? She can't even assess many of your handwritings because you don't have the habit of writing. So any serious, I'm not just saying about social sciences, even the science. You see the people who are about 70 or 75 coming to such gatherings, they will never come empty-handed. They will come with a notepad and a pen and they will sit diligently and write. People at the age of 60 or 70 and people at the age of 20, 30, I've seen them typing on their mobiles because आधा आधा टाइप करना होता है, पूरा टाइप करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Now, what things you should remember while identifying what you need to write and what you know. Now, we all have the habit to get fascinated to many things. Like, if you want to write a paper, don't write on anything and everything. You have to narrow down. Narrowing down is the most important aspect. Like I know, Kamlakshi madam works on human rights. She has been working on that since almost 30 years. I've been seeing her working on only human rights on 30 years.
Yes, present thesis is also on that now.
Yes, that is what is called specialization. No C.V. Raman, no APJ Abdul. If APJ Abdul Kalam starts thinking about petrol, diesel, and also nuclear energy, he would have never become APJ Abdul Kalam. What we do is, there is a seminar on something, we start writing a paper on that. There is a seminar on gender, fine. There is a seminar on nuclear politics, we'll write on that. There is a seminar on Karnataka history, उसमें भी जाना है. Focus on digging a well. And the deeper the well, the more chances of getting the water. If you start widening the well, कुआं जितना गहरा होता है उतना साफ पानी मिलता है. जितना वाइड करोगे कुआं सर्वाइव भी नहीं करेगा. So you need to understand that the idea is to dig deep into narrow things. Talk more on lesser things. It's as simple as that. When you write a paper, you bring everything. So if I ask somebody to write on, say for instance, Delhi elections, what you will write? Either you pick up on freebies or you pick up on, like, say, infrastructural issues coming in. If you start saying that the elections contain infrastructural issues, it contains corruption, people are distributing money. If you start writing everything and anything, there will be no focus. So the second mantra after narrowing down what you will write is focus. Just focus on one particular thing. Okay, I'll just focus on monetary, like issues or corruptions, the way in which money trail has been found in Delhi elections. Just start writing on that. Then obviously you will try to understand as to how much focus you will be. And then just start researching on that. Now, how to read? First, you have to understand how to read. And again, I'm going back and forth. When you start in the first semester, what we think is, or even a PhD student, what he or she would do. If somebody student, a PhD, is on, cultural issues in India-Pakistan relations, say for instance, they will start searching books only on that, forgetting all other aspects of India-Pakistan relations. That is not the case. You have to read everything that is available on India-Pakistan relations, and then don't narrow down on reading, narrow down on writing. If you narrow down on reading, your writing will also become shallow. I am saying narrow and deep, not broad and shallow. There is a difference. People write broad and shallow, which is shabby writing. You have to write narrow and deep. That means you have to write on precise points, but those arguments should be very, very deep and critical. How will that come? The originality factor. You think when you are writing something, oh, this is my original thought. And the reviewer would say that this has already been established. And you say, Arey, I did not know this. This is not the reviewer's fault. It is your fault because you have not read it. People say that, okay, I want to write one article, 5,000 words. I'll take 2 to 3 books, 2 to 3 articles, ho gaya. If you have to write one article, I expect my students to read at least 50 books and at least 50 to 60 journal articles. Then come to me with the draft of the paper. That is why you have been able to publish, you will be able to publish in Q1 journal. Q1 is the highest top rated first 10 journals, number 1 to 10 in the whole world in that particular sub-discipline. Many people ask me, okay, you have published 10 articles in Q1 journals. What is the mantra? I say simple mantra is what our parents taught. Keep reading and writing without diversion. Now, there is a book by Mickix, Slow Reading in a Fast-Paced World. Now, the more you read, the better focus you will get. Now, normally what we do is, as I said, we think that if you read two books and gain arguments from the same book and then reproduce the same argument, obviously you will also be committing the same most mistake that that particular author has done. Then you ultimately end up and saying that reviewer ने मेरा article reject कर दिया. Why? It is not the reviewer's fault. It is your fault because you have not read properly. So the first major mantra of writing high quality research papers is the vastness and depth of reading. The only person who speaks less and reads more, he will be successful. And don't ask me to speak less because this is my dharma. I am paid for that. But I am asking about the PhD students. टेलीफोन कॉल करेंगे, 2 घंटा बात करेंगे, यहाँ से मैं निकला रानी चन्नम्मा यूनिवर्सिटी से. I took 100 steps, and then when I took 100 steps, at 101st step I got the bus stop, and I boarded the 3 steps of the bus, and then I sat on the right side of the bus. It is nagging, isn't it? In research also people write like this. You have to be precise what you have done. Research, the primary mantra of writing is like storytelling. कई बार बोलते हैं ना, कोई स्टोरी बोल रहे, बोलते हैं सिर पैर नहीं है, तले ಇಲ್ಲ ಬುಡ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂತಾರ? Writing is also the same thing. ತಲೆ ಬುಡ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ರೆ there is no writing at all. So how to catch that tale and buda? Think. I'll give an example. If I say a story, okay, Mr. A and Miss B started studying political science in Rani Channamma University. They are now living in Mahantesh Nagar. They have 3 kids. कुछ connection बन रहा है? Can we imagine something? No. बीच का सारा खा गए. When they fell in love, did they got married? When did they get married? When they got jobs? And when did they produce 3 children? Now, in research, we think that there is a scientific way of writing. What is the scientific, quote unquote? The answer is very, very simple. The scientific way of writing means you have to think that every sentence gives birth to the next sentence. So every new sentence is the child of the previous sentence. So if I start writing on Indian politics, say for example, I want to write on corruption in Indian politics, I would say that, okay, Indian democracy, bureaucracy plays a major role because bureaucracy acts as a link between the political leadership and the people. This is the first sentence. Policies are made by the political leaders. The execution of those policies are done by the bureaucracy. These policies are made considering the public interest, people's interest. And the people try to, communicate with the bureaucracy as a medium of communication between them and the political leaders. During this communication, if the bureaucracy demands some extra favors to execute that process of communication, that leads to corruption. In this 5 sentences, I have connected everything one after the other. What we do when we have to write, we just write without thinking. Once you write a sentence, logically think what is the next logical sentence that should come after that sentence. If you don't connect that logic, then obviously don't expect that a high profile, good quality, A-star journal would publish an article. So there is a basic funda. Each sentence should be connected to the other sentence, so that there is an organic link between the first sentence of the book and the last sentence of the book. When you read, everything is going like a story. You enjoy a story like Ramayana has been written as a story through shlokas. And there are many stories. And the creativity of the writer is such that you will not lose anything. Otherwise, what happens? You will hear the entire story of and then ask how was Rama related to Sita. Why this happens? If the story is not well connected, the narrative sentences constructing the narrative is not well connected with each other. Now, we need to think that be it science, arts, commerce, language, literature, everywhere, the first question is the puzzle. You read, now you decided what you want to do research. Now, what is the first step? If you don't have a question in mind, then you will never end up doing a research. Many people come and say that, okay, neoliberal state is a problem for all kind of poverty in this country. It's already a conclusion. You already have an answer. Then what is the thing that you want to do a research? Women are not safe in this country because of patriarchy. Already you have an answer. You should not have an answer in the mind. You will end up going to a research supervisor or would be potential research supervisor. Sir, madam, see, this is the problem. And this is why I want to do this research. Don't go with solutions. Go with the problem. Why women are not safe in this country? Is urbanization a problem for this? These two questions are very precise. Only go with these two questions to your supervisor. Then you start researching on that. Okay, let me see what is the literature available. Okay, there are many literature, but nobody has seen that women's security is connected to urbanization. Okay, this is a novel area that I need to work. So the first thing is you need to have a puzzle. Every research is a puzzle driven research. If you don't have a puzzle, the question, you will never end up with answer. Every scientist have made great discoveries only by having a puzzle. Your mind should always be puzzled. If you don't have doubts, if you don't have questions, that means you will never become a good researcher. Once you have that puzzle, has that puzzle been sorted by anybody else? Do that research, do the literature survey. Now, many people, there is a difference between a journalist and an academic. A journalist, if he is asked about a problem of corruption, he or she will bring all the facts and figures and say that this is the state of corruption. Now, why corruption happens theoretically is for corruption, bureaucratic institutional dilemmas. Say, for example, there is a theoretical framework called lack of morale in the bureaucracy. Is that a reason for corruption? This is a theoretical framework. So, after doing the literature review, you should have a theoretical framework. And with this, then you start thinking and then writing. Now, there are 4 philosophers of science who are very important to understand how to publish A-rate journal articles in A-star journals. First is Karl Popper. We talk about truth. Don't go for exploring truths. There is no final truth available. If you think that I have explored the final truth and I have done the most seminal research on this earth, it will go for a toss. Then what is a good research? Real truth is one which can be falsified. सच वही है जिसको झुटलाया जा सकता है. Otherwise, it becomes a dogma. You know what is the difference between truth and dogma? Caste system is a dogma. Women are weak, that's a dogma. Class is the problem. Class matlab varga is a problem for all social evils. That's a Marxist dogma. Only through dreams that our personalities are evolving. That is what Sigmund Freud said. That is a dogma. Freudian psychology was a dogma, not a scientific research. It was not being falsified. So Karl Popper said we have to avoid historicism, that history does not, like, we cannot change history. That is what Karl Popper critiqued. We can change history. Second, we can falsify things. Once we start falsifying things, then only we can arrive at a truth. Of course, we all begin with prejudice. Even a scientist begin with a prejudice. I may have my own prejudices. But that prejudice must be backed up with scientific research. Every research goes with two processes. Conjecture to imagination. Out of the blue, you can think anything and everything on this earth. But you should have the ability to refute your own conjectures. You know, we all have very adamant minds. मैंने ये कह दिया तो यही सही है. Don't believe in that. Being open for criticism from others. There are many people who have read only one book for 15, 20 years and they feel that that book is the best. That is the conjecture they have developed. Now, another philosopher of science, Thomas Kuhn, he wrote a book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution. He was a physics professor and he wrote this book as to how scientific knowledge has progressed. We always think that all scientific discoveries are so new that previously they have never been done. No. All scientific discoveries have happened on as a cumulative process, not on a clean slate. Scientific discoveries can never be made on clean slates. What Aristotle said became the basis for, say, Galileo. What Galileo said, it became basis for Copernicus. Then what Newton said, it became a base for Einstein. What changed was when Newton was talking, that was an exemplary way of doing science. But once Einstein proved that there is a relativity, nothing is absolute, then people started questioning Newtonian laws also. But even that relativity was questioned by this whole notion of Big Bang by Stephen Hopkins. So there is a paradigm shift. But that paradigm shift doesn't mean that the older paradigms are completely killed. Paradigms coexist with each other. Then what is knowledge? Knowledge is always like a collage. ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ collage ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. You know what is a collage? Anybody can say what is a collage? It's a collection of different photos, but there is one underlying theme to that photograph. Like say sorrow. You can give 100 photos depicting different ways in which ethnic violence has brought in sorrow to people. But all those photos, one may be from Sri Lanka, one may be from, say, Middle East, one may be from Africa, but ultimately they are all telling one tale. That is, tale of the sorrow. So, knowledge can be gained from different methodologies, different theoretical frameworks. We are all pursuing one particular form of truth in a particular subject. But the way of telling the truth may be different. Now, finally, Paul, Paul Feyerabend calls this as epistemological anarchy. Don't think that if you are a Marxist, Marxist epistemology is final. If you are a neoliberal, that epistemology is final. Be open as a researcher to explore all theories and all ideologies. Don't tie yourself up. Otherwise, your framework will become shallow. Lastly, Emmer Lakatos, he talks about protective belt. Now, our problem is when we do research, there is a theoretical framework and there is a hypothesis that we evolve and we have to follow that. What happens? We, while doing a research, in the middle only we find that that hypothesis is failing. And if you say that your hypothesis failed, everybody would end up in saying that what scientist you are. You are not even able to make a good hypothesis. So to protect that main hypothesis, we start creating auxiliary hypotheses. And we thrive by making those auxiliary hypotheses. Now, what does this mean? The idea is very, very simple. When we write, we all know that somewhere down the line we are writing a wrong thing. To make one wrong look right, we commit another 10 mistakes. Don't do that. Have the audacity to accept rejections. Have the humility and great heart to accept rejections. The best of my publications got rejected 20 times, and only of the 24th or 25th time that one journal accepts it. Because, especially in all knowledge sectors, we all think in different ways. Like Michael Walzer said, every human being is a meaning producing and a culture producing entity. You can't say that one meaning can be interpreted by everyone in the same way. If that is the case, we would have never had diversity and plurality. We have so much of diversity and plurality only because every individual is a meaning producing cell. And we need to think that everybody is thinking in different directions. That is why debates and arguments are part of any kind of research. The simple mantra is to accept rejections and accept criticisms. So, in a way, when we start doing a research, think that you're not the brightest and you're not the brilliant and you're not the most novel idea that you have. Always play the devil's advocate. That means, okay, I am thinking in this direction, but anybody can reject this. So let me be ready for that. If you start thinking that, okay, mine is a brilliant idea and I will get a Nobel Prize for this, so it's difficult to convince even 10 people. To convince lakhs of people on one particular idea, it actually needs a lot of breadth and depth. So, with these words, I invite interactions. Please ask me questions. I'm here and I want to interact with all of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sir, as you rightly mentioned, see, our student, especially in science, these days, now publication become so difficult because many of the journals have gone for this kind of paid open access and payment and all that. That way, the numbers have been restricted. So, and neither Indian government or in our institutes cannot support such a publication. But our students, they keep on trying to, send to some journals. They come back. In one or two rejections, they get upset and they will go for, not pay, I would say very curious journals or that kind of thing. And how to motivate them because yeah, you mentioned your paper got rejected several times, but that kind of determination is very much required because that is happening these days, including our own students are very yeah,
See, that's what I said. You should have patience. See, the success rate is very less. As I said, it is not like we need to think that we are not Salman Khan or Alia Bhatt. You know why I give this example? आलिया भट्ट को एक्टिंग भी नहीं आती बट उसको सारी फिल्म में मिल जाती है बट look at somebody like Kriti Sanon. Why she is better than Alia Bhatt? Because she doesn't have any Bollywood background. And don't become like Sushant Singh. Sushant Rajput. What did he do? क्या किया उसने? He committed suicide. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, if you publish in a what you can say quote unquote there are so many journals, what is called predatory journals. We call them as predatory journals. That is your academic suicide. It's very easy. Okay. One article for 3,000 rupees, impact factor 7.6. That's a sheer lie. Impact factor 27. Who has measured it? It's a predatory journal. So don't fall prey to these predators. Once you fall prey, then ultimately you can never become a C.V. Raman or an APJ Abdul Kalam. APJ Abdul Kalam never used to go home for 3 to 4 days. That is why if you are rejected once, again, look why you are rejected. What formula did you not apply? Why your theoretical framework is not convincing? And as long as you have the conviction that I have to publish in this journal only. See, once I finished my PhD, I shortlisted the journal. I started with EPW. That was my first bet. I gave myself 2 years. I finished PhD in 2005. I started reading for EPW many journals and all the articles that were published in the EPW. I started submitting papers in 2007. All my papers got rejected. Finally, one article got published in 2009 and still one of the best read articles. So, what I'm trying to say, identify your journals, only keep shooting at it. It's just like Arjuna shooting the eye of the fish. Don't look at the fish, just look at the eye of the fish. And that too, looking at the water, and the fish was revolving. And then only you can get proper. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
So that means when I had identified EPW, I believed myself. Then I identified another journal, which is Q1 journal, one of the best journal in the politics of the global south and international relations. That is called Third World Quarterly. You can Google that. It's a 2-1 journal. And I started reading for that after 2009. Once I had achieved EPW, then I started targeting that. I read for 2 years, started submitting papers, but rejections after rejection. All my papers got rejected. But 2013, one fine day, one paper got published. Then I identified another journal, British Journal of Middle Eastern Studies. Like, and it was. Then I identified a book publisher, Taylor and Francis. I did it for many years. Since 2014, I succeeded in 2023. So have faith in yourself. If you don't have faith in yourself, then even God will not help you. खुदा भी उसी की मदद करता है जो खुद अपनी मदद करना चाहता है. So don't worry about rejections. हर फिक्र को धुएं में उड़ाता चला.
Some other very practical questions. Yes, thank you. Want this? Yeah, one second.
Please tell your name and what are you doing.
Sir, myself Suleiman Chowdhury. I am a PhD scholar at the Department of Technology under the guidance of Professor Riyazman Gulkar. Sir, you talked about the slow pace publication in the about the slow pace and all. So, like I have seen my fellow scholars in there are several people who publishes like 7, 8, 9, 10 publications a year and all. And when we publish 1 or 2 articles in a publication and we go for the institute and all. So our API scores are also matters. So what is your coming?
And very interesting question, and you hit the bullseye.
Quality and quantity.
Okay, so while doing quality, if you can't do quantity, then obviously your API would not increase. Okay, I'll tell you another way of increasing your API. The API also says that if you publish in a impact factor journal, for every impact score, you will get 5 additional points. Have you seen this rule?
Yes.
So if there is 15 points for one article, and if suddenly you get impact factor of 3, you will get additional 15 points. So there are ways in which quality is also supported. Okay, even let me balance it. Let me be practical. There are 2 ways of doing it. एक होता है ना हाथी के दांत दिखाने के अलग खाने के अलग. So for API purposes, do a couple of articles. But when you go for interview with all those articles, if I am sitting there, I will tell you, you only paid and published. But if you have 10 publications, and even if you have 1 publication in EPW or good journal, then you will be the person to be selected. So let's just balance. If you want to maintain quantity, yeah, I am happy to support you. Go and publish 5 or 6 articles, but try to do one good research paper in 1 or 2 years. So once you sit for any interview, I'll tell you, only with that one EPW article, I went to Harvard University. I was at University of Allahabad. Then I went to South Asian University. So with only that one article, had I not published that, then obviously I cannot have got that. I became professor at age of 38, full professor. And I have already finished 10 years of professorship. And I don't publish for numbers. वो बोलते हैं ना senior prof बनने के लिए 10 publications. I already have 20 publications after becoming professor. That is because I did not want to publish because I want to become a senior prof. I want to publish because it is my passion. I feel happy after my work appears in a journal and people start identifying me, okay, right? Oh, you are the same person who published this. So have passion and have faith. Things will automatically follow. See, you can't force the issue. Like immediately, conventional cricket, what is it said? You have to come. Pehle, you have to settle the eye. You have to start middling the ball. You have to understand the weather. आते ही चौके छक्का लगाना is very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yes, sir. Sir, rightly mentioned, some of you can plan certain part of your research for a long term goal, and something should be short term. You have to devise in such a way. Certain things, some have a long, investigation, long term is required. So that will give a quality. Okay, certain things, some short term goals that you can publish. So that way, many of these institutions, the scientists and all, they plan like that. They long term and short term.
And honestly speaking, we all do for numbers. Also not easy. But I'll tell you honestly, even like ultimately when it comes to push comes to shove, we also publish for numbers. But that doesn't mean that after you publish for numbers, you just have to keep quiet. In any case, for publishing for numbers, it's very easy, 5 articles, 8 articles. But what after that? That matters.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
I guess there are no more questions. If you would like to interact after that also, maybe sir will be available for another 10-15 minutes. You can meet him and discuss if you don't want to ask. And now, on behalf of Rani Chennamma University, we would like to felicitate sir. I request Chairman of Political Science Department, Professor Kamalakshmi Madam. Sir, be seated. Yeah. Yeah. And our PMEB Director, Professor Vishwanath Avati, and I also request Dr. Ravi Dadwai and Dr. Balwant Gold sir, Professor, to join in felicitating Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, Professor Sanjeev Kumar. Sir, be seated. Sir, be seated. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I like the garland.
Thank you, Professor Sanjay Kumar, for being with us and sharing your valuable thoughts and eloquent, impressive, articulated ideas about research and how to write research papers. And our many of research scholars, I think, are not familiar with the number of journals also. Maybe they are in search of number of journals because of the accessibility is also one of the major problem what I find among our social science researchers. And even in science platforms have widely availability for the paper publications and all. But what we find in the social science, the platforms and accessibility is a major problem. So maybe our research scholars will overcome because of this information technological revolution. Thank you. And to carry out the researcher, one has to be a diligent worker and the scholar. What Sanjeev Kumar has given a message to us. With this, wholeheartedly, on behalf of Rani Chennamma University and on behalf of the Vice Chancellor's Office and Registrar's Office and PMEB and IQAC and Department of Political Science, we thank for Professor Sanjeev Kumar sir for being with us for the 3 days continuously, sharing his valuable thoughts and views for a benefit for our students. Thank you, Professor Sanjeev Kumar sir. And even I thank all the research scholars and master degree students and the different departments, deans, directors, and the chairmen and the senior professors for gracing this occasion. Thank you, one and all. And I direct all the research scholars and other students to go to their respective departments and join their work back. Thank you.